Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat. I'm Karen Scott Green,
And I'm Kat Hardrick.
and I am so excited. We have with us four authors of children's book in celebration of Black Children's Book Week.
Yay!
So, thank you, ladies, for joining us. We have Dr. Soleil Cross, I'm sorry. We have Susan Hines, Candace Avery, and Tina Matherson. First, we are going to talk with Dr. Soleil Cross. Soleil, can you tell us about your book and why did you write your book?
My name is Dr. Soleil Cross, and the book is about me going to cheer up Pluto because he's not a dwarf planet anymore, and he's really sad about that. And then why I wrote the book. Well, starting when I was 4, Mommy told me Pluto was a dwarf planet.
Mhm.
A planet, and I said no, he's a dwarf planet. But Mommy said, but once he used to be a planet. So I said, well, he should be really sad then. So during that moment, I recorded myself talking about the book.
Okay.
And then my mom was like, we can make that into a book. So we did. And we transcribed it, illustrated it, and then published it.
Ooh, illustrated. That's a big word.
I know. Can you tell our audience, Doctor, how old you are?
I am currently 8 years old.
Currently 8 years old.
I published it when I was 7.
When you were 7. So Soleil, I'm going to play a little video from your website, which is soulrisingstemADV.com. It's a little video.
The amazing mission to cheer Pluto up and let him know, although he is no longer one of the amazing planets in the solar system, how special, just the same, he truly is. My first children's book combines my love for STEM, space, and adventure, all into a fun and engaging story about Pluto, with beautiful illustrations and a powerful message about self-love, acceptance, and friendship. Readers big and small will be introduced to the 5 famous dwarf planets and inspired to explore the wonders of our solar system and beyond. So what are you waiting for? Pick up a copy of my book today and join the Soul Rising team on our amazing intergalactic adventure through the galaxy.
Can I just say that you are the cutest author I've ever met?
That's right.
Good job, Mom. Good job, Mom and Dad. So Soleil, what grade are you in?
I am in 3rd grade.
Okay. You're in 3rd grade. And so are you going to write any other books?
Yes, I'm currently writing a 2nd book called The Misunderstood T-Rex, which is a sequel to this book. And then I want to make a comic book and a movie.
Oh. I love that because there's not a lot of girls who write comic books.
Right.
I love that. So
that is totally exciting. What advice do you have for some of your friends about writing books? What would you say to your friends if they wanted to write a book? What advice would you give them?
So, first you have to have an idea in your head to make a book, because a book doesn't start, just pops. You have to have an idea, a source. Like a book, or a question, or an answer, or anything.
Or anything.
Anything.
Okay.
And then use your imagination. And if nobody doesn't like your book, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to get their approval.
That's
Ah, I
right.
love it.
Love it.
I
Have confidence.
absolutely love it. You don't have to get their approval.
That's right.
So, where did you get your idea for the second book that you're going to write?
I just like dinosaurs, and I wanted to make a book about dinosaurs. So
Okay.
I thought, what if we could make a sequel? So this book, the book on the screen, could turn to a, to be the sequel to another dinosaur book.
Okay. Okay.
Love
All right.
it.
Love it. Absolutely
So,
love
where
it.
do people go and find your book?
So, like the video said, you can do it on Book Baby.
Okay.
You can get it on Book Baby, So Rising STEM Adventures.
Your website.
Mhm.
My website. I'm a businesswoman.
You're a
That's right.
businesswoman.
That's
All
right.
right. So, for those who are listening and may not be viewing, the website to get Soleil's book is SOLRIZINGSTMADV.com. Again, that's SOLRIZINGSTEMADV. So it's Soul Rising STEM ADV, which is adventures. And I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Solil. Do you have any speaking engagements or anything coming up
That's right.
where you'll be featured?
Writing club at my school. And then
Mm.
my tagline is one spark can make a shine.
One,
Oh,
I love that. So I'm inspired.
I
I'm
know.
inspired.
Well,
I,
Susan,
Can we all attend? Do we have to get with the parents so any of us can attend to support you?
Well, the best you can do is ask your parents if you can buy this book, and that's the way you can support.
I know that's right.
that's right. Buy the book.
That's right. This is a businesswoman. Buy the book.
but
I
well,
I
absolutely
cross.
love it. Salil, thank you for sharing. I we
I'm going to be speaking at church. I
okay.
just spoke at my school in front of the whole school, and I may have another speaking engagement.
Okay.
Okay.
Are your speaking engagements posted on your website?
not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. You'll have to do that so that folks can follow you. And we will have your website on our website so that if folks wanted to, find out how to follow you, they can do that.
I was also
Okay.
thinking,
What were
well,
you thinking?
we haven't posted the videos up, but a channel on YouTube.
Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but I haven't
Posted
posted.
in a while? Okay. Well, when you get that information, when mommy gets that information, make sure that you send it to us and we'll post it. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All
And,
right.
and then next is Susan Hines. She is an author of Buckley is a Busy Boy. And she is the founder of TJP Publications. And Susan started writing children's books to support the development of basic language communication and writing skills for early learners. She created TJP Communications to offer self-authored books for children. From learning the names and sounds of letters to practicing writing genres, each book helped children learn and grow. So, Susan, tell us about Buckley is a Busy Boy.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me this evening. I am honored to be here. And I am thoroughly impressed with Dr. Soleil. Thank you, because you have just solidified that I am on the right track and the right tips. Because one of the things that I do say to the students when I visit schools for author day or storytelling is, in order to write a book, you have to tap, 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 and get that imagination going. So you just told me that I'm on track. So thank you. Thank you. All right. So The name of my book is Buckley is a Busy Boy. And what inspired this particular book is that during the year 2020, the pandemic, we got a new housemate, and his name is Sir Winston Buckley, and he is just a ton of joy. And my grandson at the time was about 6 years old and was challenged in reading, and so we decided to pair something he loved with a need, and this is how we came about.
And so, what is the age range for the Buckley books?
So the books right now are ranging from age 5 to maybe 8 years old or 9, depending on the reading levels. When
Okay.
I visit the schools, I do target the kindergarten and first grade. However, lately I've been getting a lot of requests for the older grades to support.
Mm, okay.
So when I meet with the older students, like third, fourth, and fifth, then I talk about the career of being an author, being a business owner, and how to marry those two together. So we get a little bit more in depth as to how to author a book.
And I want to show a clip of Buckley as a busy boy from his YouTube channel. And Buckley is busy indeed.
Buckley is very busy. So
How
that
did you come up with the idea?
so Buckley, I have to say, Buckley's in the basement right now. He's not happy. So if you hear him
Uh-oh.
barking, he's like, "What's this about? I can't come upstairs." So
He needs, he's the main event, right?
he is the main event. So Buckley is a busy boy. It talks about his daily routines is really what the book is based on. One of the things that we noticed in getting him is that he had this routine where he would wake my husband up in the morning at 5, wanted
Mhm.
to go outside for his relief, and then he would at least wait until 7 to wake me up to feed him and so forth. So a very considerate dog, I must say. But then in doing so, he has basic things he likes. He wants to have, he wants you to pat him. He wants you to take him, brush his teeth and his beard. I mean, he's pretty persnickety, and he does come from a lineage of show dogs, so that's probably where he
Hmm.
got that from. But as he's going through his everyday adventures of chasing the birds and the squirrels and digging holes and so forth, what I'm noticing is he's learning, he's exploring, he's coming up with new skills, etc. And I took that concept and put it in a book to mirror the activities of a young child and some of the things that they do on a daily basis and how they're very inquisitive and wanting to learn. And so we married those two together, and the feedback on the book has been pretty positive in regards to meeting with the children, going out to the schools. They're now I'm getting feedback now from the counselors saying that kids that weren't reading last year are now inspired to not only write words or try to write sentences, but they're writing about Buckley. So
Hmm.
affectionately known as the Buckley lady when I come
Ah,
to the school.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah.
And so right now
You
I'm
know,
showing TJP Publications, which is your publishing company that you started, and they someone can go to tjppublications.com to purchase the Buckley books, and there are a few on here. Buckley has a calendar, an activity book, a coloring book. There's a book bundle. That
yeah,
Go ahead.
you
So
have a bunch of different options. I wanted to ask you, what are some of, because of your publishing organization, what are some of the misconceptions about publishing a book and how did you address them?
some of the misconceptions are that it's easy, and it's really not. It is a process in a sense. You have to, as Dr. Soleil referenced, you do come up with a concept, and then you also expand your imagination. You can take an everyday event of sorts and expand it into something of adventure and interest. After you have documented that book and manuscript or transcript, you want to now take that to an illustrator to marry those pictures together and
Mhm.
put that. Now the illustration piece, what I found in publishing my own books is that it is a lengthy process. It's not
Mhm.
something that you can quickly just crank out books. It takes time. And the editing process as well, you're constant communication back and forth with your illustrator, going through that process, and then before you do final publishing, you have to
Mhm.
format the book and then submit it out. So having my own platform allowed me to showcase the book as opposed to going to a traditional publishing house that may or may not accept your books.
Wow.
So this is a good way to get your books out there and manage your own business, as they say.
Right.
Now,
What's,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Karen. What's
No,
the
no.
time frame? I saw, girl, you know we just tag team. What is the average time frame of writing a book? I know that it varies and so forth with the length and what have you, but what can a new author anticipate a good time frame to write a book?
Yeah, definitely. As stated, it takes time. My first book, it almost took a year for me to get this out and published, and I think it may have been a combination of me trying to spin the business up, as well as writing the book and working through the kinks and understanding the publishing business. But on average, I would say anywhere from 6 months to a year, and again,
Mhm.
it depends on the complexity of the book and how long it is. If you have very detailed illustrations, that could take some time. If you're doing um, hand um, hand drawn illustrations
Mhm.
versus the digital illustrations, that's also a concept that could also extend your time as well. And the editing process is a really long time. And although I'm thinking about this book, and I tell the kids all the time that they can take Buckley as a busy boy, and it's a very simple book, 29 pages of
Mhm.
sorts. But even simple as this, the back and forth and collaboration with the required teams, because I do have a team that supports me
Mhm.
to get this done. So it can take some time.
It sounds like Buckley letting you know how much time it took him too. So we hear you, Buckley.
Buckley
No,
is not.
what I wanted to ask is, since you are self-published, how did you find your team?
How
Mhm.
did I find my team? Very good question.
Mhm.
So there, um, there are tons of freelance workers out there,
Okay.
and YouTube, going on social media,
Mhm.
and looking at some of their work is a great way to reach out. There's also people that are on platforms such as Fiverr or maybe Upwork that you can work
Mhm.
with as well. So it just depends on what you're looking for. You're able to look at their previous work, and then you want to have people that you can trust that they're going to get the work done and be able to turn it around in a reasonable amount of time. So
Mhm.
as I'm meeting talent, I'm bringing them onto my team as my permanent staff.
Awesome. And for anyone interested in Buckley is a Busy Boy, there's actually two books. Buckley is a Busy Boy and Buckley's Gone Fishing. Is that the other one?
Yeah, the other one is called Buckley's Family Fishing Trip.
Family
And
Fish.
this is actually based on a real story with my husband, who is referenced affectionately as Grandpa, and Raphael, my grandson. So the book is about them, and they're on their fishing trip, and I'm just there to capture the story.
Okay.
Mm.
And so
Love.
for those who are interested in purchasing Buckley is a Busy Boy or Buckley is Going Fishing or any of the other books, um, you can contact Susan at via email at tjppublications@gmail.com, via her website at tjppublications.com. And also, she's on Twitter at Susan Hines, and that's SUSANHINES. And she's also on IG, Facebook, and TikTok as author Susan Hines. And as you saw the YouTube page, Buckley is a Busy Boy 3712. So yeah, that's a lot.
That's a
But
lot.
That's a lot.
So
We
Buckley
got
keeps me busy
yeah,
too.
Buckley is a busy boy, and so is his author.
Yeah.
So yeah, but thank you for sharing Buckley with us. And next up is Avery. Oh, where'd I go? Look, I'm trying to
to
find
multitask.
trying to multitask.
Right.
Listen,
It's
multitasking is the older we get, multitasking becomes a little bit harder.
really.
Candace Avery. Candace is a fashion stylist and an empowering voice for young girls and women. She's passionate about uplifting and inspiring the next generation. Candace has created compelling literacy based curriculum offering invaluable insights and guidance for young girls and women navigating their journey. So, Candace, please tell
Hey,
us about your book,
yes,
Fashionably Late.
thank you. Okay, so hi. Well, okay, first of all, I am so honored and thankful to be here with you, lovely ladies, this afternoon, hearing from Dr. Soleil and Dr. Soleil and Dr. Hines. Number one, I would love to get you guys on. I do PR for a television station called Black Education Station. It's a streaming platform, so
Oh,
you guys look that up.
yes,
So make sure you
yes.
check that out. We have book readers, we have tons of content creators with cartoons, all types of things. So I would love, love, love to have you guys as one of our content creators on that site. So that's number one. Number
That's
two, Miss Susan, I feel your pain. I also ended up with a pandemic puppy, and I don't know if you can hear him now, but he is somewhere in my house barking as we speak because he does not like to be clothes out of anywhere. The house belongs to him. So
right.
I definitely feel your pain. I didn't write a book about it, but girl, yes, I hear you. So my book is called Fashionably Late, as you can see on the screen, and LATE stands for Living Authentically Transformed and Empowered.
Mm.
The book features 10 life lessons and fashion fundamentals to enhance your personal style. That's the book cover that you guys are seeing there. But the book was actually inspired by my daughter. My daughter is now 10 years old, and I lost my mother when I was young. And so I wanted to make sure that I left my life lessons and my kind of words of wisdom so far in my life for her in case anything ever happened to me as I've gotten older. My mom wasn't around when she was born. So, you have all of these questions as you get older that you would love to ask your mom, or, what I think almost every day, what would my mom do? Or what would she say? Or I know she would be here babysitting, and I can go out on a date with my husband. So, little things
Right.
like that. I wanted to make sure that my voice was there for my daughter. Something that I've learned over the past few years is how important it is for us to tell our story and to make sure that we encourage other people to do the same. So I wanted to put that in a book, and that's what I did. So there is the book that you guys see. It also comes with a journal that looks like this. The journal's not on Amazon. The
Okay.
journal can be purchased through my website, but
Okay.
the journal kind of follows along with the book, and basically has created a conversation. This book has really done more than what I expected. I know Dr. Soleil mentioned it doesn't matter if somebody else likes your book, and I had that mindset completely when I wrote it, because I wrote it as though I was talking to my child. And
Mm-hmm.
if she was the only person who liked it, nobody bought it, I would have been completely fine with that. But I work in schools, and so I've been able to implement my book as actually a literacy-based curriculum in schools across the country, boys and girls clubs, Girl Scout troops, women's groups. So it's been a really exciting journey, and I published it in October. So it's been a quick journey as well, but it's really exciting, and I'm enjoying the ride.
I am so glad that one, you wrote this book. I can share my personal story, so it resonates with me already. But first, I do want to say welcome back to the Love Seat.
Thank you.
Candace was here talking about Black Education Station. And so please, follow, subscribe, get connected. That is an awesome platform. And I'm loving how we're making connections right here on Conversations with Karen and Kat, where
Yes.
we can grow and build our community. So I love it, love it, love it. This is what God has me and my sister out here doing, building up the kingdom. So I'm loving it. So, but with that being said, I too lost my parents before I was 5, both of them. So your book just resonates with me because me and my kids, I have mommy and sons and mommy and daughter, and we do a journal of trying to answer those questions that they may have. Something simple as, what's your favorite color? Like, I never knew my parents' favorite color.
Mm.
Mhm,
You know
mhm.
what I'm saying? I don't know what their favorite perfume or cologne or favorite color, just what do they like? Do they like linen? Do they like satin?
Right.
Are they into exercising? Like, what is it? Do they drink coffee? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so those things we take for granted. So I admire and I love what you're doing because that is courageous. And guess what? We shouldn't have to wait until we transition to find out those simple things that we take for granted.
Yes.
So I love that because I know the books that I have are not by Black authors. So
Mhm.
I'm
Mm.
excited to buy yours and help celebrate and lift it up so that we can do that. Because I'm sure what's in your book is probably culturally connected to us, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
what I love about it.
And I do want to point out that we're sharing the screen with Candace's website. It's candiceavery.com, CandiceAvery.com /books. Again, that's Candice, CandiceAvery.com /books. And so you can find the journal, the Fashionably Late book. What's the third thing on here, Candice?
The
That
other
you
one
put?
is a bundle, so you can get them both for a
Oh,
bit of a discount.
okay.
Oh,
All right.
oh,
And
Okay.
then
that,
as far as the school curriculum, there's a facilitator's guide, like a pacing guide for teachers when
Mhm.
they're using it in the classroom, that can be purchased. They would just really have to email me or
Okay.
catch me at a conference. I
Okay.
do quite a bit of speaking at conferences as well.
so that
Okay.
was my question. I'm glad you said that. When you said it was a teaching curriculum, in what way will the educator present this to the classroom? Because I see it as my
So
daughter. So how would that work in the classroom?
So it can be used either in SEL time, so social emotional learning time, where they're really kind of having those deep conversations with students. There's also, I had it developed by someone who develops curriculum, so I didn't do it myself because I'm not a teacher. But she was able to pull out vocabulary terms, other questions, and really just using the journal and those additional questions and vocabulary to spark conversation. And there's quizzes in each chapter to test the students' learning, as well as a take home part, which I love. So they can take home and have conversations with their parents about the different themes. So some of the themes in the book are, relationships, resilience, failure.
Mm.
How do we have difficult conversations, things like that. So those are a few of the themes that they can take home and have meaningful conversations with their families as well.
I love that because we don't have the vocabulary at certain ages to express our emotions. And
Yeah.
that to me lends to conflict resolution. Now we have words, we can say how we feel versus getting angry and becoming, physical. So I love it, love it, love it. Giving our educators and communities resources
Yes.
that are actionable. So I love it.
And so
And
the D.
just to add, the literacy is aligned to standards. So she did align it to each of the standards for every state. So covered on that.
And so, for those who want to reach out to Candace Avery, you can reach her at, she has a YouTube channel at the Fashionably Late Show. And there is a dot between the and Fashionably Late Show.
It was
And
the only one available.
She's also on IG at Candace Avery Style, and you can find the book on her Amazon, Fashionably Late, LATE, and you can also get the journal off of her website. Just go to her website and
Go
get
to the
everything that way
website.
Amazon.
The
That
easiest
way
way,
Amazon don't
honestly,
get your
yeah,
money.
just DM me on IG or go to the website. It's the easiest way to kind of get more information or purchase. Before you guys move on, I do want to say that I am launching a podcast, so that YouTube is actually going to go to my podcast, and it's going to be based off of the themes in the book, and I have different guests on talking about how they managed relationships, or how they dealt with difficult circumstances in their lives as well. So the podcast is coming soon, and I'm gonna have all you guys on there.
That's right. That's right.
I love it that these connections are being made, because
Absolutely.
I think when we were talking on Education Station, I said, I know somebody who wrote a children's book. I know somebody who wrote a children's book, because I've been having this idea for quite a while to do this show. And so when I saw the Black Children's Book Week, I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Yep.
Absolutely perfect. Because when I found out that I've known, as I was sharing before we came on, I've known Susan for 30 years. And 30 years, 94, right? So when I heard that she'd done this book and was sitting down talking to her, I was thinking to myself, how I need some forum. I knew what the forum was, but I needed some way to get her on this so that she could talk about the books, and it not, so this is perfect.
Yes, God is so good. No mistakes, girl, none. And I only thing I want to say is Karen and I we put God first, and God just sends us everybody we need that God wants us to elevate. This might be off topic, but I just feel in my spirit to say it, and I'm just so thankful because all of our paths have crossed at some point or another, and God is constantly putting us in the same space. So
it's such a God thing. It really is. So, Lady, did you have a question, ma'am?
Yeah, so this book that you published, that book, so basically you can talk to your mom or your dad about the way you can feel, and you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are parts in the book that allow you to have those difficult conversations or answer. One of my favorite parts of the book is there's a section that says questions I wish I'd asked my mom before she passed. So it's a list of questions that kind of inspire conversation with your mom or your dad, whoever you like to talk to. So I think that part of the book for sure would be perfect for that.
Candace, what is your targeted age range for that book?
So, like I said, I wrote the book for my daughter who's 10. Some of the vocabulary is a little advanced, I have learned, because I was just writing. I was just liking it for in a voice that I knew she would understand. But I will say there have been schools who've used it in their 5th grade classrooms, because that curriculum pulls out those difficult vocabulary words and kind of helps them have discussions around them. So 5th grade, I would say, so maybe around 10 years old would be the youngest on up. So like I said, adults are using them as well.
I think Soleil might be ready.
I think Soleil sounds very advanced.
Dr. Cross is ready.
Yes. She was asked, Dr. Cross. Dr. Cross is asking the question.
We have a doctor in the room. Let's use it, okay?
Yes.
Love it.
This is a God thing, because literally I was yesterday, one of the women in my women's ministry at church had posted about Soleil's book in our women's ministry. And I was like, oh my God. I DM'd her. I was like, can you give me her parents' contact information? We got to have her on. We're doing a podcast tomorrow that we're taping tomorrow about Black Children's Book Week, and that would be awesome to have a children's author on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a God thing.
God thing.
There's no coincidences. Everything has divine purpose and order,
God
and I
Mm-hmm.
believe
miracles.
that. And with saying that, I
Miracles.
have to now reintroduce my sister friend, Tina Matherson. And I've known Tina. Oh, our boys went to my youngest son, her oldest son, were in preschool together.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so that has to be like 17 years now because they'll be 18.
17. Absolutely.
Yeah. We went to church. We went to the same church for a while, for a good while. Our boys are best friends. She let me take her child to Jamaica.
Oh yeah, that has to be some love right there. Look.
Yeah, my
Right.
son went to Africa. Her son went to
Yep.
Africa. Listen,
Oh,
Yep.
this
you
is how
part of
they
that
just
African
watch
trip,
out for
Miss
each
Tina?
other.
That
Hmm.
that's how I found out about the Kenya trip because
Yeah.
my
Yes.
son had gone. But
Okay.
and so Tina has written a book called Back to School Affirmation Journal for
Mm,
Students. Kick your fear to the curb. She's an inspirational change agent, and she's a woman of God. She really is.
okay.
I have to say, first and foremost, she is a woman of God, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that she puts God first in everything she does because I've seen it in action. She's using
Mm-hmm.
her voice to write to elevate women and girls out of unhealthy cycles and patterns by targeting her own inner dysfunction. She aims for her readers and listeners to look within instead of without to change their outcomes. And I have
Mm.
to also add that she's also a podcast host.
Yeah.
So, Tina, tell us
Yay.
about this beautiful journal that you've done.
So it wasn't supposed to be a book.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Wow.
I have, like Karen said, my 18-year-old son. He's now 18, senior. And for most of his life, he went to private school. And then after pandemic and things of that nature, he was now going to public school. And so I noticed that after the pandemic, when the kids started going back to school,
Mm-hmm.
I started seeing like a lot of anxiety. I
Mm,
started seeing like some fears, and I wasn't sure what it was really. But I was just paying attention to who I know he was and who I know I'm seeing this person in front of me getting all nervous and itchy and just really
mm,
uncomfortable. So I'm still paying attention. He goes to school, he finishes the term, we get to summer, and then he's himself again.
Mm.
And school is almost coming back. And I did like so we're going spiritual, but I did like
mhm,
a 15-day fast for my child because I need to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
And I'm asking
mhm,
God to order his steps, and I'm asking God to give me the words, and I'm asking God, what do I need to see that I'm not? And I'm asking him questions. And then Holy Spirit says to me, go and research what are the fears that students have with going to school. And I was like,
mm,
what?
Mm-hmm.
Fears? Because mind you, I've written a book before about which my son also inspired, but just about my life growing up as a child and not growing up with a father, and my mom was traveling at the time, so I grew up with my grandma. So now this is like another situation where I'm not really a children's author. I just like to write. So this one was go research what are the fears that kids have going back to school. So, ladies, I begin to research. It's Google and research, and I'm seeing one fear for their teachers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what?
mm.
Fear about learning. I'm like, what? Fear
Mm-hmm.
about the next level. And guys, I have a notepad in here in my notepad, there's a list of these fears. And I'm going down and I'm adding the fears. Next level, fear of large groups,
Mm.
Because they had been
protection
at
and
home.
safety. Right,
Mm.
they've been at home. So now
Mhm.
you're going back to school and there's this trepidation of all these people, and you're like
Mhm.
wondering if you're in a test tube. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's protection and safety. Are they going to be safe? You know, you're having
Mhm.
lockdowns, you're having social media threats. I'm looking, maintaining and building friendships,
Shooting
worrying
drill.
over academic shooting drills,
Mhm.
medical. We see things like, okay, there was an ambulance at the school today, or hard lockdown is in process, and you're outside and you're feeling anxious.
Mhm.
So just imagine what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through and I'm making this list: drama and distraction, test anxiety, and it's going on. And I'm like, okay, I got to number 14. And I was like, that's it. I got in fight mode. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's it. This
Mhm.
is it. Because I know that God gave me the power to speak words of life over any fear,
That's
any
Mm.
fear.
that's right.
So, one of the things that I started doing, I did the research for each thing, the latest Harvard, whatever research people had about it. I did research
Mhm.
there, put a little bit of it in the book, put a little bit of just an intro of what this particular fear is, so it's more conversational to them. And then from there, I started putting affirmations that counteract that particular fear. Because what
Mm.
we're not going to do is stay
Right.
silent in the face of those
Mm.
fears.
That's right. Silence and shame. That's right.
So, in addition to that, I felt like I also needed an outlet where they could now voice what their
Mhm.
specific fears are and practice affirming or speaking so that they can reverse whatever that particular fear is. And I have an example of that where my son, he's 12, so I wrote it for my teenager.
Mhm.
Wasn't supposed to be a book. Every morning, I would attack one fear at a time in a text message.
Mm.
It became his devotional.
Yeah.
Wow.
One fear at a time. I went through mental health. I went through comparison syndrome, imposter syndrome, one day at a time. It was. So when I got to day 14 and I said, were these helpful? He's like, Mom,
I needed that.
I, I, it's like at the end of the day
Yeah.
You were
14.
throwing him a lifeline, and he didn't
He,
even
and
he
Mhm.
didn't even know. Yeah.
so when I saw him breathing, I realized, okay, he's not the only one, right?
Mhm.
Because I started even doing further research to see that this whole mental health situation, Pew has studies about it, the schools have vaping, weed, you name it, kids
They
are
got
trying to cope. They're
Mhm.
trying to figure out how to cope. When I, I pray for my children. I get up
yeah.
every morning. There's a prayer in my notepad for everything under the sun, from the plans of God to be accomplished in their life, to protection, to
Mhm.
ordering their steps, Lord. I have like
Mm.
something to bless them. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
these things that, so I'm doing all of this, but then I realize I'm not going to be here forever. And I
Right.
have got to provide him with those
With the
words to
Mhm.
tools. Yeah,
speak
yeah.
over himself.
Right.
Okay. So this is what this book is. It literally gives them the positive words. You know how kids are. They roast each other all the
Mhm,
time. It's
mhm.
something
Mhm.
negative. They're
Mhm.
more like humans. It's easier to be more negative than it is positive. But what you
This is
don't know,
true.
you're
This is
speaking
true.
death instead of life. So
That's
this
Mhm.
book is full of speaking life over
life.
I
themselves.
love it.
Mm.
And
That's
Tina,
what
what is
this
the
is.
age range that you target the book for?
So I did it for like straight teenagers.
Okay.
But then when my son had a situation at school where there was a social media lockdown, and I do have a
Mhm,
chapter in there about safety and protection,
Mhm.
he I had to use the book with him. And
mhm.
so I started reading to him the whole thing about God has not given him a spirit of fear, because there's a little scripture section as
Yeah.
well. And I gave him the scripture, and my sons are like, I didn't even realize that those scriptures were really in the Bible,
Mm.
specific to the fear.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
So, and then there's the interactive piece where I gave him the affirmations based upon what I feel like, okay, here's what you need to say toward fear to counteract that. And then there was a section where, what specifically are you afraid of when someone gives a social media threat to say that
Mhm.
they're coming to shoot the school up? What
Mm,
do you feel? He
Mm.
said, Mom, I envision being shot. I
Oh my
said,
goodness.
the devil is a liar. You see what I'm
Ah,
saying? But
mm-hmm.
if I didn't have that little interactive piece, I wouldn't know that
yeah.
that was what he was seeing
Was
all
feeling.
night
Yeah.
long and feeling.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, he doesn't go to school, no, ma'am, because you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to learn anything at this point.
Mm-mm.
And I spend the rest of the day helping him to come up with his own specific affirmations against
Mhm.
that visual.
Mhm.
Okay, so we do that. He sees himself as God sees him. He knows now that angels are encamping around him. I keep him in a safe space. I write him a little. I'm grateful for this, that about you, just to build him up in
Mhm.
that moment when he feels at his,
Yeah.
lowest and he's so scared. Yeah.
I
I
love
love
it.
the book because I literally had a conversation. I mean, me and Karen was talking about it. I got emotional the other day because of the things that are happening with our young people, and a young person did not know how to convey to their parents the level of anxiety
Right,
and the
that they're
mental health
experiencing. Mm.
stress that they are experiencing from all of these negative things. And I'm being cautious with my words because of everybody on the show.
Right.
But I need this book to share to this young person so that they can have the vocabulary of saying what their fears are in
Yeah.
school, because this can definitely help
Mhm.
positively affect all the negativity that young people are going through with schools. And you just pick up the newspaper and read the news with what's going on in our schools. And to your point,
Mhm.
what you said, the young man, your son had that fear. That fear is real amongst a lot of these young people.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
but they don't have the vocabulary to express it. And then sometimes they don't feel safe, comfortable to express it. So they just, keep it all in and internalize, and then it just explodes. So this is definitely a book that can help with that space. Do you have a mental health? Do you have an experience that you overcame with mental health that helped you guide you in this space to write this book in any way that you would like to
Oh,
share?
well, so not like I got a medical diagnosis or
No.
anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember during the pandemic, I
Mm-hmm.
had to make a decision that I will not allow negativity to dominate my space.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm.
would not entertain it. It does
Mm-hmm.
not, it's not something that I would cope with in any way. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I mean, I have this statement that I'm just allergic to it. And people at work
That's
know they
right.
they have stopped putting me in their drama because it's not where I belong. And
Right?
Mm-hmm.
until the pandemic, I had the
Mm-hmm.
strength to say I really like I
I don't
don't
want
do
it.
crazy, I don't do drama. If you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have, and it's so funny that once I've started making those declarations, it backs up. It
That's right.
does not come near me. Sometimes I'm like, God, how am I not being involved or invited into these spaces? I realize
You set
it
your
cannot
boundaries.
come near me. I set
That's
the boundaries. That's it.
Yeah.
And I spoke the words. Because what we don't realize, guys, there's so much power in our words,
yeah.
right? Activating power in our words. You
Mm-hmm.
have to tell things what to do. There's one of the
Power of
affirmations that I
life
have.
and death lies
I
on
tell
your
my son all the time. They know it, but they
Mm-hmm.
roast each other all the time. But the power of life and death. There's one of the affirmations I have. Derogatory names means nothing to me. I
Mm-hmm.
cancel the negative effects of them on my mind and on my emotions. Because
mm,
sometimes people speak such words of death and gloom, and they feel like they have the last words over your life. And you have to counteract and you have to cancel.
You know the phrase when people say, when it rains, it pours. I always say it pours blessings over me because I know that what they mean is something negative. But I always, when somebody says something to me, I'll either say I
Yeah.
refuse to, I don't receive that, or I spin it to something positive. I do want to
Absolutely.
say, because
Don't
I know
receive.
you're
I cancel all day long.
okay. I know that's right.
Excuse
So the
me.
question is to any one of you ladies, and I
Um,
know Karen will will us in. The one question I wanted to know: how do you hope today's discussion will impact our listeners to either pick up a book and read more, or to become authors themselves?
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes, Dr.
Dr.
Cross.
Soleil.
So the I had a problem where I was scared to go to school too.
Oh, you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, because my teacher was mean.
Oh,
Oh,
so how did you deal with that?
Didn't want to go to school, but then like I really wanted to get out, but then my parents told me that if she screams at me, they won't really get mad at me because she's just mean.
Okay.
so your family was very supportive of you. Yes.
She was a bully, huh?
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. And
I
and
just,
mommy can get that journal, and you and mommy can talk about some of the things that Miss Tina was talking about in her affirmation journal, because one of the topics she had in there was her son being afraid of being in the
right.
classroom, and being
Mm-hmm.
and fear of the teachers, and the teachers being mean, and the teachers not doing the right things with their students.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a very real fear. And thank you for sharing that, Dr. Cross. We
It's the
appreciate you.
first fear.
Yeah,
It's the first one. Can you
yes.
But
imagine?
now
Wow.
I moved to
Louder.
but now I moved to like a different school and the
Okay.
teachers are not mean there.
Okay.
Oh, good.
That's
Good.
always good. And again, Tina Matherson is the author of Back to School Affirmation Journal for Students, and you can find that on Amazon. Um, so what back to what Kat's question about what are some things, or what is one thing in particular that you would want someone to know about start writing a children's book, writing a book, how to get started? What advice would we'll start with Candace. What advice would you give someone who is interested in writing a children's book or a
Um,
book for young people?
Yeah, so my advice is always, and this is not just with writing, this is
Hmm.
really with anything that you're doing, is to start where you're strong, right?
Okay.
So if you, like Dr. Soleil has written about things I'm sure that she's learned in school, or things that she's had experience with, or things that she loves. And for me, that is the biggest piece of advice I made sure to include in my book, because I do work in fashion. I made sure to include fashion tips. You know, every
Okay.
chapter has, fashion basics, establishing your signature style, dressing for your body type, things like that, because I know that's a strength of mine.
Got
So
you. Start
that
with what
to
you know.
me, yes, start where you're strong, start with what you know. And that first book will be easy. And then, the second one maybe a little more difficult because you got to find a different topic. But starting where you're strong to me is the biggest what's the biggest advantage for me when I was writing.
Awesome.
And then
Thank you.
Miss Tina.
Sometimes you already have the book because you've been in your notes forever, writing something,
Mm,
talking about something, and you feel like it needs to be complicated when all it needs to be is simple. Simplify
mm,
it and you'll get done, right? I've written a chapter book before about myself with devotionals.
mhm.
And then this one, it was just as simple as literally a little intro to the area, quickly some scriptures. If there's research on it, quickly that, affirmations, somewhere for the kids to write. That's the
And
chapter. And
and
move on to the next thing.
I forgot that we did speak and write. What year was that? 2018?
before COVID. So
It
it
was
might have
before
been
COVID.
2018, maybe
So we did a speak
2018
and
or
write.
17 we
Yeah,
did
we did a
that.
speak and write conference. I didn't know
Hmm
she was going to be there. I turned around and saw her there. Um, did that, and she's written 2 books since then.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have another one too, but this ended up being first
Yeah.
because my child needed it. You know, you just
Hmm.
become a mother and you begin to like, I gotta help him. And then it helped him, and you're like, okay, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. So
Nice.
just keep it simple, guys. Sometimes, we want to overthink things. You definitely want to pray and say, okay, God, who needs this? Because
Mhm.
sometimes you think it's your story. And sure, you get inspired by whatever is happening in your life with your kids, but it's just not for you. It's someone else. So have the
Mm.
Holy Spirit guide you with what to write, who to write to. You probably have it in your notes, like I said before. If it's a book of
Right.
poetry, start there. You could be a creative person and you have poetry. Write that, put it out. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. I literally wrote this book in the summer and I posted it on September 11th. Quick.
Wow.
Mm.
Awesome. Go ahead, Miss Tina.
And Susan, can you share some advice that you would give to someone who's thinking about writing a children's book or writing a book?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that I like to share with the kids as I go out to the schools, and I have wristbands that also say this, is you have the power to imagine and create. And
Mm.
one child's book or one book can be a book for many. So you should go with your passion, whatever your passion is, as Candace has alluded to, and Tina as well. It doesn't have to be simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be very simple, but follow your passion. Your heart speaks to you and it will
Mhm.
tell you where you need to go. And you do have that book because I know I've written this book in my head many times, and
Mm.
maybe the fear, we talked about fear tonight. Maybe the fear had prevented me from wondering, oh, should I put this out? What are they going to think?
Mhm.
I'm in
Mhm.
corporate America. I'm not a teacher by trade, or
Mhm.
how can I speak to a children's book? But when you have it in your heart, it just keeps nudging at you, and you need to put that on paper and put it in front of the world, and do it not just for others to accept you, but do it because it's just what you need to do, because it won't leave you alone if you don't. So do
Can
it.
I can
Facts.
I just can I just say this?
Yes.
That Susan, if you and Tina met each other, you would be friends. You're both from Jamaica. You
Yes.
both, yeah, you two would hit it off. I know you would. I know both of
We
you.
would
You would hit
write
it
a
off.
book.
And we would write a book. Exactly. We would all write a book. Yeah. Definitely.
That's
So
funny.
No, you wouldn't hit it off because you're Jamaican, but you two would hit it off because you have the same energy.
I,
Mhm.
You know.
yeah.
But I'm loving to see what could possibly happen with Black Education Station, Dr. Soleil getting in there. I
Yeah.
I love it. I love all of it. And
Mhm.
Dr. Soleil, we're gonna
Ex-
let you have the final word.
So I have additional advice to give.
You give it,
Yes.
ma'am.
Well, be creative, and then make your own story. It doesn't have to
Okay.
be someone else's story. It has to
Mhm.
be just a topic, a random topic. It can be about animals, space, science, or it could just be a nonfiction book that you made out of your head.
Okay.
Okay.
Everyone has.
And everyone has a story. I believe that everyone has a story to tell.
And I love that. And
Yes.
I think that is the perfect final word.
That's right.
Everyone has a story. And you heard that directly from Dr. Cross herself. So, ladies, I want to thank each of you for sharing with us tonight. I have enjoyed this conversation. I really have, and I'm so excited to see what your next endeavors are going to be. As always, I want to thank you and I thank our listeners for joining us on this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.